It would have to be pretty early in the morning. Woo! He's excited to be here. Normally, you couldn't pay me to do this walk on a nice spring day, but nothing is normal anymore. And I was just so curious what the Brooklyn Bridge was like without tourists that we're making this video, and I'm taking you guys along for the ride. My first impression, the bridge is definitely not empty. I think if you would have walked this in March, right after everything started, it would have been a different story. But I actually see a decent amount of people walking. Nothing crazy, of course. You know, nothing that would stop me from doing it. One thing I've noticed already is that the bike lane is completely clear, meaning if you wanted to bike, instead of having a horde of tourists in the wrong lane, there's no issue right now. So if getting around New York City by bike is your thing, my goodness, you'd be having a fun time with this bridge right now. I mentioned it in my last video, but traffic is definitely picking up in New York. People are beginning to go out a lot more, or they're preferring to take Ubers and driving versus taking the subway. I have not taken the subway in over 2 months. Now, it's not to say I wouldn't take the subway, but I would need a very good reason. And I haven't had a good reason. In fact, I walked here from my apartment in the Village. It took me 30 minutes. I had never walked to the Brooklyn Bridge before. All right, you guys ready? I'm gonna drop some knowledge about the Brooklyn Bridge right now. First opened in 1883, it took 14 years to construct, and over 24 of the construction workers who built the bridge died, including the original designer himself. And at one point, the Brooklyn Bridge was the longest suspension bridge in the entire world. On a normal day, the Brooklyn Bridge gets 150,000 people either walking, biking, or driving over. Today, obviously, it's a lot lighter. You know, normally, if I was walking the Brooklyn Bridge, I'd be dodging people left and right who are stopping to take photos. Angry cyclists are hitting their horns, and it can be pretty chaotic. I'm actually pleasantly surprised by the amount of people out on the bridge today. And that's a good thing. I'm happy that people are getting exercise and feel safe enough, you know, to even do this. I do have some good updates from New York City. Governor Cuomo yesterday said that for the first time since this pandemic started, the death rate in New York City has gone down to where it was in late March. About 100 people per day are dying, which is obviously tragic, but the number's down at least. So right here is the area that is usually just full of people taking pictures. And there's barely anybody out who's just stopped. It seems like most people here have a reason to walk across. Maybe they're, you know, doing exercise, or they're biking. Typically, you would have to come to the Brooklyn Bridge about 6 or 7 in the morning to get it like this. To get it pretty much this clear, it would have to be pretty early in the morning. Woo! He's excited to be here. I don't know where that girl is graduating from, but I promise you that is going to be one picture she's never going to forget. She's going to tell her grandkids, I graduated college and I stood on an almost empty Brooklyn Bridge. Wow. Those pointed arches there and all the columns here, this is what makes the Brooklyn Bridge so distinctive, the neo-Gothic architecture. This is what makes it just a legacy for New York City. One of the most iconic structures in the world, I have to say. All the way down there, we spied the Manhattan Bridge, which I did a video about walking it.
I feel like the Manhattan Bridge is one of the most underrated bridge walks in New York City. You've got to try it sometime. Very cool views over there. Normally I'm recommending it over the Brooklyn Bridge because this bridge is too crowded, but today, not the case.
The last time I was here, right in this location around me, it was absolutely mobbed. It was a summer day. It was just packed, shoulder to shoulder. Now there's a few people taking photos. I showed you the girl who's graduating. And the good news is, if you suck at taking pictures, nobody would dare hand their phone to you to touch, so.
I don't think I've ever actually stopped to marvel at the cables of this bridge. Remember, this was the first bridge to connect the East River, Brooklyn and Manhattan. Longest suspension bridge in the world at one point. It was a trailblazer. A very popular photos when people will prop themselves up here, sit. Some of them are a lot braver than me. They'll dangle their feet. And I don't know how safe that is, but you see that all the time. And right now, nobody's doing it.
There's a couple of things I always liked about the Brooklyn Bridge. One of them is that if you're afraid of heights, you know, you're not walking along the edge of the bridge. The car traffic is on both sides. The other, it doesn't take that long to actually walk this bridge. You know, we're about halfway to the other side, over the East River, right in the middle right now. I could probably walk the Brooklyn Bridge in 20 minutes if I just went swiftly, maybe even faster. I wasn't planning on doing it, but it's such a nice day that I think I will actually.
We got those sweeping views of Manhattan this way. And we've got Dumbo right there. And I see that the park, where there's normally tons of people, pretty empty. To quote Phil Collins, this is someone who just doesn't care anymore.
For all my New Yorkers watching this, for those of you that haven't walked the Brooklyn Bridge in a while, and you're looking for some exercise, now's a great time. I mean, if you're here anyway, and you can walk to the bridge wearing a mask, keeping your distance as best you can, this is a chance to actually appreciate this historic wonder without feeling really, really crammed.
Interesting to spy on Dumbo from here. I'm looking at the park right there. That's a great park to hang out. There's people out, but you can notice their spacing. No one is within 30 feet of each other. This is one of the master mechanics. Cross the Brooklyn Bridge by traveler wire. How big of an attraction would this be if you could zip line the Brooklyn Bridge like that? Tell me in the comments. You know, if you're walking the Brooklyn Bridge for the first time, I would always tell you to start in Brooklyn and walk to Manhattan, because you'll get that big skyline view as you cross over. I think it'd be something really special.
Quick reminder, if you want to support what we do on this channel and join our Patreon, anybody that joins in the next 10 days is going to get a free New York City postcard sent anywhere in the world. Details in the description. So we practically reached the end, about 5 more minutes to go that way. I'm actually not going to complete it because, you know, I don't see a point. I have walked the Brooklyn Bridge before. I will say that I am very jealous of the people on bikes because, as I said, with a lot less pedestrians crowding both lanes here, they're biking from Brooklyn to Manhattan so quickly. I mean, I'm thinking like 10 minutes you could get from Brooklyn to Manhattan by bike. Look at these guys, they're flying. So yes, I am jealous, and if I ever had to rent a bike to cross the Brooklyn Bridge, it probably would have been today. Tell me what you guys thought. Did you think it would be more crowded on the bridge in May or less crowded? And what was your experience like? I want to know. Leave me a comment down below. Guys, thank you so much for watching, as always. Until next time.